Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Morgan, editor of Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with Kenny Vieth, president and senior analyst at ACT Research. Kenny, how are you doing? Thank you so much for taking the time.
Doing well, Jason. It's good to be here with you, and look forward to the interview.
Oh my gosh, I am very excited for this one. I started doing these video interviews right when the pandemic hit, mostly as a way just to stay connected. I miss talking with everyone and trying to figure out what's going on. And I knew that you were one of the ones I wanted to reach out to toward the end of the year to help me make sense of all this, right? The numbers don't lie. So we'll just kick it off here. We're at the tail end of 2020. Hopefully, this year will come to an end in January and we'll begin a new year. Before we go into 2021, though, what have been your biggest takeaways for how the market has responded to the historic year, and maybe what even surprised you as you went through the year?
Yeah, I'm glad you waited until December to talk to me, because had you talked to me in April or even into early May, it was doom and despair as far as the eye can see. So I probably shouldn't have admitted that to your audience members. I should have just said we knew it was going to happen the whole year, but certainly it's caught us by surprise. So maybe if I can just jump over to my screen quickly and show you in a nutshell. I've been showing this slide now for probably 3 or 4 months to our customers. So if you think of trucking, commercial vehicle demand, there's really two sides of the equation. First is how much freight is there. So what does the demand for trucking services look like? And then the second thing is how much supply is available. So how much capacity can be brought to bear to haul the freight. And then the intersection of that supply and demand, just like a commodity, if you've got too much supply relative to demand, the price falls. You've got insufficient supply relative to demand, prices rise. So this kind of three graph setup, really illustrates, what happened this year. So, starting in the top left-hand corner, demand for freight has soared in the aftermath of the pandemic, and so what we have is real personal consumption expenditures, so consumer spending on the top left-hand side. You can see that purple line there is consumer spending on durable goods, which is up 15% on a year-over-year basis. Really in nosebleed territory. The blue line, consumer spending on non-durables, is up a solid 5%, and really telling the story of the two economies that we have here. The service sector was still down 7% on a year-over-year basis in October. The middle chart gets to supply, and you can see back in April, March and April together, the for-hire trucking industry shed about 100,000 trucking jobs, or about 6.5% of capacity. Even through November, we're still about 4% capacity short relative to where we were back in March. So demand takes off, supply is constrained, and I think there's some interesting stuff to talk about on drivers. And what you get is the bottom right-hand corner, and that is I've got DAT's drive-in and spot rate data. You can see the red lines, the spot rates. The last 3 months have been at record levels. And contract rates are rising sharply. I would point to those little arrows on the bottom. If I look over the past 10 years, the mean rate spread has been about 18 cents between contract minus spot. Currently, that's at minus 13 cents. So as we as we move, and we know that spot leads contract. So as we move into the first half of 2021, I think the setup is very good for truckers to make a lot of money here.
Right, right. Well, and we've seen that with the truck orders in the past couple months. I think the latest numbers, even that you all put out, another near record month coming out of November. Trailer orders have been strong, and I mean, I'm not an analyst, right? I just kind of track the market. But to your point, if back in March and April, I thought, wow, there's no way we're coming out of this like we had. Like it's been. Is it fair to say that it's really surprising, or is it you pointed out that everyone's ordering everything, consumer demand is up, and it kind of helped us weather the uncertainty?
Well, in hindsight, you can explain away everything. So,
You were never worried.
and that is, I think, conceptually, consumers are going to spend what consumers make. So, if we go back to February, what we were doing, we were going skiing, we were going to concerts, we were going to restaurants, and spending, having business trips, going to conferences. A lot of the money that gets spent in the U.S. economy every year isn't stuff that generates a lot of freight. So, we all get stuck at home, and now we've got to buy tech equipment, and it's like, oh, we're not going on vacation, so let's take that vacation money and put a new deck or a new pool, and you're thinking about the Christmas season. We're not driving to grandma's, we're not going skiing. This is a recurring theme in my life. It's very, very sad.
You've listed like five things
we're not we're not spending on experiences. So in lieu of spending on experiences, we're spending on stuff.
Right, right. No, for sure, for sure. And luckily that's been to the benefit of a lot of the trucking segments. Of course, there are still are some that have been impacted, but definitely the freight movement here is looking good. What about the secondary market? Used truck sales. Have you seen any impact there? And do you see that coming along as kind of following the new order strength as it kind of does occasionally?
Yeah, let me drop into another graph here, this is one of the points that we've been making for several years is starting around 2016 or 2017 there was really a kind of a new must-have spec for the big fleets. You think about the drivers that are coming into the market, they've got a manual transmission exclusion on their CDLs, and as the big fleets train a lot of drivers, a lot of the new drivers that are coming into the market aren't equipped to drive manual transmissions. So starting around 2017, I think a couple things happened. One, we had kind of the last really big step in fuel economy. Getting trucks around 8+ miles per gallon. As well, the truckers, the big fleets almost universally started speccing automated manual transmissions. They started investing in advanced driver safety systems. Kind of that pre-autonomy types of technologies, and so I've got two used vehicle prices here, the top chart is 3-year-old used vehicle prices. So you can see, even during the depths of the downturn, that late model used truck price has held up very well. Again, great fuel economy, an automated manual transmission, probably ADAS technology. So you have to go back to maybe the middle of 2018 to find a worse late model used truck price than it is today. Conversely, you can see that 7-year-old truck, and granted, if you think back to 2019, I go back 7 years, I'm in 2012, 2013, those were some, kind of ugly post EPA 10 trucks that maybe nobody wanted, but by the end of 2019 and certainly into the beginning of the pandemic, you had to go all the way back to 2009 to find lower prices on a 7-year-old truck. But thinking back to the chart I just showed with spot rates ripping right now, I think there is a segment of the population that's saying, Maybe driving a truck during a pandemic isn't so bad, and we've seen a very nice rally in that particularly old used truck value over the past 2 or 3 months.
Right. No, definitely in demand, and especially as we've watched unemployment rates skyrocket this year for sure. Definitely a lot of work to be done in the trucking segment. Yeah, one thing I did want to touch on though that you mentioned here that I think is interesting, and I've been looking at as well. Your slide there said that the valuations are being or there's valuations are being honored for ADAS systems, advanced safety systems. And that's been really interesting to see how fleets have picked that up so quickly in terms of technology, maybe versus even the AMT rate, which took a couple years to kind of get the standard spec in there. But now it seems like ADAS, they're seeing the value in it, and just, at least from what I hear, of just putting it in their new order fleets right away. So very cool to see it.
Maybe you don't have to get hit with a nuclear verdict on a collision that wasn't your fault, but I think the stories that are out there, and I think and I can't remember who said it, but a conversation with a trucker a few years ago, he was saying, the automatic braking as an example, it might not prevent the wreck, but the wreck's not happening at 25. I'm not rear-ending somebody at 25 miles an hour. I'm rear-ending somebody at 5 miles an hour. You add this, into the context of nuclear verdicts against trucking companies and all these, truck ambulance chasers, if you will, out there. I think the return on investment is very good on ADAS systems for trucking companies.
Very cool. Okay, so now the fun part, maybe, I'm not sure, but let's pull out the crystal ball, right? I don't know if there's anything after this year that we could imagine putting a prediction on. But from your seat, as closely as you look at the market, what are you looking at for 2021? What indicators are you seeing that maybe are trending the right way and looking good into Q1 and 2 next year?
Sure. So there's a lot to like. So our GDP forecast right now is after contracting 3.9% this year, the economy is going to grow by 4% next year. So let me jump back to the presentation that I've got queued up here, and just take a look at kind of the freight pipeline, kind of the things we look at. The top two charts are manufacturing related. The manufacturing sector is usually what puts the C in the commercial vehicle cycle and drives spot rates up. The manufacturing cycle right now, the downturn is really long in the tooth. Typically it's kind of down 2 years, transition up 2 years, down 2 years. That's kind of the pattern. We've been down for 2 years in manufacturing. Pent up demand. You can look and see what's happening on new orders. Just inventory correction in the short term. You can see where in the bottom left hand corner where total business inventories are down about 5.5% on a year-over-year basis. Certainly that alone is going to drive freight in the first half of the year. And then talking about consumers spending everything they make, not quite true. You can see that over the course of the last several months, personal savings has increased fairly significantly relative to the trend. So consumers have a lot of dry powder here. And then if I can, just go on, I think, one of my favorite, kind of structural trends in the economy is the millennial generation, kind of the middle of the millennial generation right now is just now turning 30. So the babies from 1990 to 1992 are now 28 to 30 years old. So what happens in your late 20s? You get married, start having kids. That studio apartment that you were always going to live in kind of stuff now. So I want to buy a house, and looking at the housing market, the existing home inventories I've got over here, you can see, going back historically, we are at all-time lows on existing home inventories, which is going to drive strong new construction. And I think from a labor competition standpoint, I think the home builders and the guys and guys driving trucks, you're really competing for that same pool of labor. The one thing about home builders is you can still smoke legal weed and swing a hammer. And if I can just get to one more slide here, Jason, or maybe two more slides, because I think so that's the demand side. So we see a real nice opportunity for demand to rip. And I do think we've been seeing kind of tighter and tighter driver market constraints. As we started to see it in 2004, 5, 6. There was driver shortage, and then 14, 15 it was driver shortage, and then 18 it was like driver shortage in capital letters. I think right now it's going to be driver shortage in capital letters and neon is where we're headed, and this doesn't get easier. So the first point is if I look at the number of 21-year-olds, the blue line, relative to the number of 65-year-olds, which is the red line here, labor force growth in the United States is only projected at about 0.5% per year. And so there's going to be extreme competition, regardless of your business. There's going to be extreme competition for labor. What's interesting is we would contend that driving is really a second career occupation these days. If you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, the mean age of drivers in the United States is 55 years old. So if you look at this dotted black line on this chart and go to the Y2 axis, currently if you look in 2019, there's about 88 million 45 to 65-year-olds in the population. The other two lines point to the Y1 axis, but there's about 88 million 45 to 60-year-olds in the population. That population is actually shrinking. So from 2018 to 2027, that kind of driver pool population actually shrinks by 3%. So you've got a growing economy, and you've got a shrinking, traditional driver labor pool. Additionally, we add the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse this year, and as I mentioned, a legal cannabis map. I think there's a lot of people that say, well, all those guys that have been sitting on the couch for the last 9 months, when their unemployment runs out, they're just going to come and drive a truck. Well, guess what they've been doing the last 9 months while sitting on those couches? They've been smoking legal weed. So, and then more to the short term, I think we did have a COVID impact on driver schools this year, and then as mentioned, the competition from construction. So just I think some real constraints that are continuing to bite harder on driver supply. And I just have just one more picture here, if I can show you. This is the return to duty status data from the FMCSA, and this is through the end of October. So this started, I think, about the 10th of January. Drivers with one violation, almost 43,000 have been taken out, through year to date October. The interesting part here is if you look at that green line, only 4,400 have completed the return to duty process. You kind of look at that bracket I've drawn in here. I'm pointing to my screen, and of course,
no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
But you look at the bracket. Only 20% of those people have actually applied to start the return to duty process. 70% of the drivers that have been busted to this point have not even started the return to duty process. So this is kind of one more. One more bag of sand into the gears of driver shortage, and we've always contended that the louder you hear trucking companies screaming about the driver shortage, the more money they're going to make. And there's a historical relationship between drivers making money and fleets making money and fleets buying trucks. So I think it really sets the table nicely for a new demand cycle for commercial vehicles.
Right. No, for sure. It's going to sound terrible, but even the problem of the driver shortage sounds refreshing because there's a problem that we can understand and tackle and strategize around. There's been so much uncertainty. Kenny, you've already given me the great Christmas present for this year because that round of good news looking into 2021. Honestly, my money would not have been on that strong of outlook going in the next year here 6 to 8 months ago. So happy to hear it. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
Enjoy it, Jason. Happy holidays, everyone.